Hey guys, for today's video, we're just going to do a really simple tone down. We're just going to pop in 3 to 4 foils of both light and dark on either side and the back of the head. And it's just going to be a really easy process for you guys to do to tone down and add some depth back into your client's hair. So keep watching to see how we tackled this service. You can follow me on Instagram at Christy@thecottage. Alright, here's my client's before again. Last time we went a little bit brighter with her hair, but we're going to tone down today and just do a little snip off the ends.
Hey guys, for my client that I'm doing today, we normally do like a really bright money piece and just like a few really small little foliage pieces through the rest of her hair. She's pregnant and she wants to try and make it so that when she has her baby, she doesn't have to worry about coming in. So we're going to tone down her money piece that we do. We usually do it really bright. So I'm just going to do some really fine weaves this time, not as heavy. And then she also wants to add a little bit of dimension to her hair. So that's what we're going to do today. And to start the service off, we're going to use Schwarzkopf Blondie with 20 volume. And just pop in a really few little foils around her head, probably 3 on either side and 3 in the back, just to add a little bit of those teensy little highlights that she likes.
Alright, I'm going to be using my Schwarzkopf Blondie with 20 volume and Olaplex. You can see here as I'm combing her hair how really bright and chunky she likes that front piece to be. It's really toned to be like a true level 10 and very, very white. I mean, over time it kind of warms up. So this time we're not going to go as bright with her money piece and highlights around the front of the face. So you'll kind of notice that as I'm foiling around her hairline, I'm doing a little bit softer of a weave and I'm doing a little bit more subtle of a baby light. You can see around her hairline as her hair is pulled back, it just blends and grows out really softly. There's like no harsh lines or anything, but because she doesn't know exactly when she's going to be able to come in again, we're going to do it a little bit more softer than what we normally do. So you can see the subsection that I'm taking is a little bit larger and we're going to be weaving out quite a bit of her natural just to help it blend a little bit better and let her go a little bit longer in between surfaces. Okay, so we're just going to do 3 of these foils on the side of the hairline and then repeat the same thing on the other side. Also, guys, be really cautious when you're doing your foiling around the hairline. Make sure that you're not overlapping the previously lightened hair. You'll notice that I'm trying to like swipe through the ends and try to get any of the darker pieces that I need to. And I do have this in like fast forward, so it looks like I'm kind of aggressively going in and just like laying it on there really quickly, but I am actually trying to be really cautious of the hair that I'm touching and I'm pulling aside any previously lightened hair. But there's times where I see people foiling and they just like bleach through all the ends of the hair too when it's already really light. So you really want to be cautious when you're foiling the hair, especially around the hairline where the hair is a little bit more fine and delicate, to be really cautious not to overlap and create any damage or breakage around the hairline. For her money piece, we normally go in really heavy with back-to-back heavier weaves, maybe throw a few slices in there. But again, because we want to make sure that this doesn't grow out as heavy and she can go a little bit longer between services if she needs to, we're going to do this time just a little bit softer of a money piece. So you'll see that I'm taking much finer sections, and I'm not going to do it as chunky and heavy as what we normally do. So these foils, I'm just going to do some really fine weaves, and then on the very end one, I'm going to back comb it just to give it a little bit more of a softness. Also, for when you do around the hairline, you want to make sure that you're adjusting your foils to where they part their hair. So she parts her hair a little bit further over onto the side. So I'm making sure that I'm adjusting my foil to go a little bit more on the side of her head and extend a little bit further down this way than just straight down the center. I see a lot of people, when somebody parts their hair on the side, they'll foil just straight down the center. So then what happens then is when the client parts their hair, they maybe don't even have enough of the highlights to like extend over on the side of their head. So when they part their hair, all the highlights in blonde falls over on one side of the part, but not really the other. So make sure that you're adjusting your foils to where they position their part, and make sure you always ask at the beginning of the service, like, where does their part fall? Do you need to adjust it? Do they part their hair on one side more than the other? Do they go straight down the center? If somebody says that they go straight down the center, but if there is ever a time where they do go on the side, I will always adjust it just slightly over to the side a little bit more. So like right now, I just asked her where does she part her hair. I made sure that I had her hair parted for when I start doing my foiling. This is why I usually don't do a lot of sectioning when I foil the hair. I know a lot of people ask me to like show my sectioning, but you can see like I really don't do sectioning. I more lay the hair how it naturally falls and then go from there, or I'll pull the hair to the side and then foil off of that. So you'll see my sectioning that I just did. I asked her where she parted her hair, and I parted her hair exactly where it falls, and then I'll do my sectioning based off of that. So because we're trying to go a little bit softer, not as bright this time, I did my first foil. Her blonde is going to fall underneath her part. So I'm kind of going diagonal back from off of the money piece. So it's going to connect to the hairline, but everything's going to fall kind of underneath of her hair. And she's going to have that darker piece where her hair parts is going to fall on top of it, and it's going to help it grow out much softer. So we're just going to do 3 foils of the blonde on either side of the head and then down the back, and then that's going to be it. We're just going to do some standard weaves, back comb it so it's a little bit softer at the root, but because I don't know exactly when she's going to come in next, I am taking her highlights all the way up to the scalp. Of course, we're back combing it, so it's just going to be slightly softer at the root, but we are going all the way up, where normally I would just kind of back comb it, do a little bit heavier of a section, and then like paint and blend up into a few inches of her roots. But I want to make sure she has time for this to grow out, so we are going to go all the way up to the scalp. But because this is falling underneath her hair and not directly on top, she's never going to feel like she has any grow out from the blonde. And I don't know if you saw, again, when I came over onto this side, I parted her hair again and then flipped that section over onto the other side, and I'm going just underneath her part again. So sorry for people that always ask me to show my sectionings when I foil and section the head off, but to be real, like, if I did that, I would be lying to you. I'd never do that. Like, if I do a full foil, maybe I'll just like pin the hair aside and section the bottom half and then go from there. But I never do like 4 quadrants or anything. I feel like that kind of limits your availability to foil around the head, how the hair falls, and you're just like putting the hair in a box and you're just foiling like to the section of the head versus foiling to the way the hair falls and how you want it to lay on the head. So that's why I rarely ever do any sectioning. I would rather look at how the hair falls for every section that I'm doing and then base my foils off of that. So we're just going to continue doing these. Again, 3 foils on either side and then onto the back section. Also, I want to say that I feel like these videos do really, really well when I put these out because I feel like we're always so used to overworking and trying to do like the most and pack in like a whole bunch of really super fine baby light foils when all you really need to do if somebody wants like minimal coverage is just go through and do some foils like directly under the part, like the top section of their hair, and that blonde is going to show through. So work like smarter, not harder. Don't do like a whole bunch of foils with like minimal weave or super fine, super light baby lights. If you just go through and do like not necessarily like a super, like this isn't to me a standard weave. This is like, you know, kind of borderline baby light, borderline weave. It's not like so fine of a weave that it's like little strands of hair, but it's a little bit fuller of a foil that I'm doing. So if you do a little bit thicker of a weave, then that will give you a little bit more brightness and a little bit more coverage of highlights versus going in and doing like a whole bunch of just like teeny little strands of hair. You're just creating more work for yourself. I know right now like the foil trend is to do like really fine strand lights or baby lights or whatever, but you're just going to create more work for yourself. So just go in there, back comb it, do more of like a standard weave or like a softer weave or a stronger baby light or whatever. And then that will do a little bit more coverage and it will eliminate having to like pack in so many foils. All right, now that I'm done foiling, I'm going to lay the hair back down exactly how it falls, flip this part over to the side because that's where it lays, and I'm going to see if I need to pop one more foil in at that very top section, but I don't. I feel like I have good coverage where her hair is falling, so we're done with the foil section.
Okay, so we're going to go through and run some dimension through my client's hair, and I'm going to use the Schwarzkopf Igor Vibrance, and the reason why I want to use that versus like the Palm Mitchell Demi is because I feel like it has nice coverage and it doesn't fade as fast, where I feel like Palm Mitchell the Demi is just a little bit true translucent and doesn't cover as well that I would like anyways. Maybe I'm using it wrong, I don't know. So for her color, I'm going to use dark blonde chocolate and like a brown ash, so basically like half 6'6" and half 5'1". The reason why I'm doing warm and ash is because I don't just have like a 6 neutral. If I did, I'd probably just use like a 5 neutral or 6, probably just a 6 neutral, but I don't, so I kind of have to offset both of these. So we're just doing half and half, and I'm using my oopsies 6 fall.
All right, so we're just gonna mix these half and half and then equal parts of the 6 volume. And for this part of the service, we're just gonna do the same thing that we did with the blonde. We're just going to do a heavier weave, not baby lights or anything like that. We're just gonna go through and do a heavier foil of the dark. That's because I feel like we need a little bit more coverage of the brown that we're going to be adding back. And because we're not going to go through there and do like a heavy foiling, I just feel like we need to add a little bit more dimension to get a little bit more coverage. So you'll see that my foils that I'm doing at the top are a little bit thicker and heavier than what we did with the blonde, of being more of like a softer, like not a true baby light, but not like a true weave either. So kind of like in between baby light / weave. But these darker pieces, I'm definitely doing like a standard weave. And we're just going straight up into the scalp. We're not like back combing or anything like that. So I'm also going to be taking like the section above. I'm going to be flipping that over just because I want to make sure that she still has a little bit of her natural in there and some of those softer like blonde tones that we did last time. So that's all we're going to do for this, is throw these foils in. And I'm also grabbing closer to the foils for her money piece, so that way some of these darker pieces will fall on top of her money piece section and blend nicely with that. It's not like she's just going to have all this dark like in the back and then nothing around the front of the face. It will blend nicely with the front also. So we're just going to go through and throw, again, just like 3 to 4 of these darker dimensional foils on either side and the back, and then call it good. Okay, so this last foil that I'm doing on the side, and I will be doing this on the other side also, is I'm going to be putting this darker dimensional foil on the very top of the hairline. So since she's wanting to tone down, I want to make sure that she's seeing a little bit more of that depth on the very like top part of her head. So we're going to be weaving and doing a little bit fuller of chunkier weave on the top, so she sees a little bit heavier amounts of that dimension that we're adding back into her head. You'll see that I flipped that backside kind of over, so it's still gonna blend in with her natural, but I just definitely want to make sure that she's seeing that depth on either side of her head. All right, so I just bypassed the other side because I don't want to like be too repetitive. So we're just going to finish up the back here. And then again, I'm just going to lay the foils down and make sure that I have the coverage where I need it. So this is all the foil work that we did. I let her process for about 25 minutes just to make sure that the dark had enough time to really get in there. And now we're checking her hair to make sure that her blonde is where we want it to be at. And now we're going to pull foils and rinse. All right, so we rinsed everything out, and you can see here how really soft her hairline is. It's usually much brighter, but we definitely toned it down this time.
All right, so my client is toning now, and we normally do her money piece like really bright, but because we're trying to like blend it a little bit more and have it be a little bit more subtle, we're gonna add a little bit of a natural level 9 to our formulation. So what I'm going to use is about half level 9, or 9 NB and half 10V from Paul Mitchell, the Demite. So that's gonna give it like a little bit of a softer warmth, but not like too warm or anything. And that level 10 is just gonna cool it slightly, so it's not like overly, you know, brassy or warm or whatever. And then just lighten it slightly, so it's not like too light like a 10 or too dark of a 9, just kind of nice in between.
All right, so we'll be mixing these two together, just half and half, with the Pomachel processing liquid. And normally her hair when she's toning is very, very ashy, but you can see that it adds just a nice slight warmth to it. So here we're just going to blow dry, and you can see again that this blends really nicely in with her hairline and with the sides. There's no heavy streaks in the hair. It's just really soft and much more subtle and natural looking than what we normally do. I can definitely tell a difference with how much warmer it is versus being just like super white. So I feel like this is a nice like in-between color of some highlights, where if somebody wants a little bit more warmth of a highlight versus just super white blonde, I really feel like that NB really adds a nice soft warmth to the color. And then also, you guys, I am not like a mousse or gel person, but my client does not, her hair like has a hard time holding curl. I'm putting mousse in her hair for the first time, and let me tell you, her hair held the curl so much better. Like, I don't know why this is a shock to me. I'm not like a product junkie hairstylist. I'm like, use some hair serum, use hairspray and call it good. But I ended up using some mousse in her hair. I use the milkshake product for anybody that's gonna ask, and it actually held so much better. So I don't know why this is like a shock to me, but anyways, I'm like amazed. So I guess I will be incorporating mousse into my styling services. So, and also if anybody's asking what hairspray I'm using, I really like the Big Sexy Hair, the stronger hold, because I feel like it just holds the curl a lot better. And then also because we're combing through everything, it's not like a hard, like cement spray. You know what I mean? Like when the hair feels like super stiff. So because we're combing through it, it just like gives the hair like nice hold, but it's still really soft. And then a lot of people ask how I style my client's hair. However, I know a lot of people don't really care about watching this part, so I just like to put in a few little clips of how I style. So I just curl everything to the back center of the hair and then let it cool down, and then at the very end we will comb through it. So just curl everything to the back center, not forward, not back and forth, like some forward, some backwards. I just do everything towards the back. And the curling iron that I'm using is by Jay-Z Styles here on YouTube. If you watch her channel, I love her. I love this curling iron. I think it's called a Jagger because it has a longer barrel, so it's perfect for clients that either have longer hair or have extensions. I'm just watching myself curl the hair, and as I'm like wrapping the curl pattern back up while I let it set. But do you guys remember, if you're old enough, if you're like 40 or older, when we used to like see how I'm combing through her hair, how we didn't used to do that, how we just used to like curl the hair and leave it like that, and just like that was the style. I'm like cracking up right now at like how we used to style hair. Just cracks me up. And I'm sure like in 15 years we'll look at hair, how we style now, and think the same thing. But I just think it's funny when you look back to like, you know, think back to like older styles and stuff. Anyways, so here's the before again. I think we just snipped a little bit off the ends, and then here's her after. Definitely toned down quite a bit more, added a lot more depth and dimension back into the hair, which she really liked. And then those teeny little pieces of highlights just showing through, which she really, really liked. That way she still has just a little bit of brightness, but nothing too heavy or anything, just little pieces kind of peeking out here and there. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it. I really hope that you like how much it like blends into the root, and you know, it's not too heavy or anything. And thank you guys so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.